Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. May I call your attention to the fact that it is 5 o'clock and it is time for our church conference to start. My name is Lonnis Barrett, for some of you that I don't know, and we're so glad that you're here, and I want to extend a welcome not only to you, but to those who are watching us online as we are streaming today's program. It's a joy being a part of this church, and we look forward to our church conferences as an important time when we see the result of some very hard work by a lot of hard-working people. Before I get started, I want to express a genuine word of thanks to Amanda Lofgren and for her good work in getting started, helping us build the agenda, helping us get the matters together, organized, and set the stage for today's meeting. And also Julie Byers, our church clerk, will be taking minutes, and you'll get copies of the minutes soon. So I appreciate those two folks there. I have been officially informed by Sarah Dooley, who was our head counter today, that we do have the requisite 70 people that was needed for a quorum. And so I'm happy that I can officially call the meeting to order and that we're in compliance with what our church bylaws says we need to do. If you will, before we get ready, would you please pause with me for a word of prayer? Dear Heavenly Father, my prayer is that you will bless what transpires here today. Thank you for our church, our staff, our church laymen and women, and for the rich opportunity we have to minister to the world from the corner of Ashford Dunwoody and Mount Vernon roads. Thank you for all of your gracious blessings and for loving us so much. In your name, I pray. Amen. As you walked into the chapel today, I think most of you probably got a copy of the agenda and a paper ballot. If you didn't get one and need one, would you please raise your hand and one will be brought to you promptly. Okay, I think everybody's got one. Good job. I do want to call to your attention let's see, I can look at that one. Okay, it's not working, Mr. Kurt. There we go. I do want to advise you of one item on the agenda that will be moved up just a bit, since it will relate to our call vote on our new digital ministry and senior adult pastor. I got that wrong. It deals with calling Gary McIntyre to be our new digital pastor. But because we will be asking you to mark a paper ballot, we didn't want to leave it at the bottom of the agenda and then ask you to hang around while we tabulated the ballots. So what we're going to do is move it up, and that will take place just before Maria Sheff gives you the report from the missions committee. You've heard me say this every time I've been up here. Our church has a strong history of good, solid committee work. That's a strong foundation in our church. I want to say thanks to the various committee folks for all of your hard work, and thank you so much for the job that you do. The minutes from our May 7th conference are in your handout, and if you will look at them, I need to ask for a motion to approve them. May I have a motion? Tom Dorsey. Second, Ed Hayes. And if you favor approval of the minutes, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. And like sign nay, and of course there is none. I want to update you on our membership report. It's in the printed material that you've got before you there. Since our last church conference, we've had 15 new members by baptism, letters, or statements of faith, and we've lost 6 members through deaths. When I looked at that list of those 6 people that we lost, those were friends to me and a lot of you out there as well. And 3 have transferred out by letters or erasure. Our total active membership as of today is 1,404, and our non-resident inactive membership is 747, for total membership as of today being 2,151 members of our church family. Now we're going to get to our committee meetings or committee reports, and some of the hard work that they've done. And the first person I want to call up here is Casey Cody, Chair of the Nominating Committee, for a report on our proposed church officers and committee members recommended by this hard-working group. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You know how to use it.
Maybe. Hello, church. Thank you, Lannis. My name's Casey Cody, and I've had the pleasure to chair the nominating committee this past year. And we are tasked with identifying individuals to serve in the upcoming, each of the committees that will be given the reports today, as well as identifying those to serve as church officers. Before I get into the business, I just wanted to recognize those members who serve on the nominating committee. As you see them throughout the the months and the weeks moving forward on campus, just tell them all thank you and appreciate their hard work. So Betsy Sims, Brooke Suma, Scott Bennett, April Noah, Joe Sifrey, and then those that are rolling off this year after committing their 3-year commitment is Randy Gurley, Karen Patterson, and Tracy Rylands. So just tell them thank you as you see them. And then also a special thanks to the liaisons who serve on our committee or liaise with the committee is Megan Harrison, who serves as our leadership team liaison, and then also Alan Talafaro. Really, his wisdom and guidance has been invaluable as we move forward through the process of this. In July, the leadership team requested that the nominating committee formed a pastor search committee with the specific purpose of interviewing and vetting Gary McIntyre for the role of digital ministry and senior adults pastor. And the nominating committee formed that pastor search committee, and those people I just wanted to let you know were Beth Southers, Michael Bonifacio, Rick Sheff, Emily Bell, Blake Evans, Ed Hayes, and Carol Ball, and they'll be giving their report later in this process. So first, okay. The first task is we've communicated with all the existing church officers and trustees, and all of them have agreed to continue in that role, with the one exception is Gene Jernigan was rolling off as a trustee, and he's agreed to serve another term. So, Lannis, you want me to go?
We'll do them all together?
Yeah, we can do them all together. Okay. And then in addition, with the next slide, early in the nominating process, we solicited candidates and requests from all of the congregation, and I really appreciate all your prayers and your input. And as we went through them, the candidates were all vetted by the church administrator to make sure they met all the qualifications that were required. Nominating committee met several times to review both the requirements that each committee had in terms of skill sets and kind of matching them with the candidates who were nominated, and came up with and prayed about it, and really we feel we came up with a great list of the future leaders of our church. And with that, the information, these names are also in your handout here, so please refer to that. And Lannis, with all of that, I would like to formally submit these candidates for consideration.
Thank you, Casey. You've heard the report from the nominating committee, and this is a standing committee of the church. We have 4 standing committees, and this does not require a second. So we're at a point where I can ask you if you favor the recommendations made by the nominating committee, would you please signify by raising your hand, like sign nay, and of course there's no opposition. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, nominating committee, for your hard work, and thanks to those folks who have agreed to serve going forward. Another hard-working committee of the church is the leadership team. I will call on Andy Diamond if you'll come forward for your report on behalf of the leadership team. Thank you very much.
You can hear me, right? Okay. This is one of the best attended church conferences we've had in a while. Appreciate y'all coming to see me. I'm going to start out my presentation in the exact same way that I started it in May, which is to identify and thank the members of the leadership team. They are an incredible group who work really hard, and I'm just proud to be a part of that group. So I'm just going to read their names off, alphabetical order, I promise. Paul Bazier, Carol Ball, Tom Blaisdell, Nicoa Bowler, Corinne Bursa, Damian Cook, Megan Harrison, Caroline Ivy, David Runsick, Judy Russell, and Beth Suthers. And in addition to just naming them, I'd like to particularly say a word about 4 of them. So we have 3 people who are completing, at the end of this year, they'll be completing their 4th year and will be rolling off the committee. And I just want to recognize the amount of work and the dedication that these 3 people have put in to this church, and the love that they've put into this church over the last 4 years. And that's Paul Bazier, Nicoa Bowler, and David Runsick. I also want to recognize Beth Suthers, who is going to be our incoming chair for 2024, and she's going to do a fantastic job, and I imagine even more people will come to see her at the next conference. The other thing I'll do that I did in May also is I want to read to you from the bylaws what the task of the leadership team is according to the bylaws, and that is to counsel the pastor, planning and recommending future directions of the church, guarding the purity of church doctrine, and providing spiritual leadership to the church. And I can assure you that every time we get together and in conversations in between meetings, we are doing our very best to fulfill those responsibilities and to be intentional in our effort to honor God in everything that we do in those conversations and in addressing the issues that we discuss and sometimes make decisions upon. I'll just identify just a couple things we've done this year. I know that you're all familiar with some of the issues with the Southern Baptist Convention, and I have nothing new to say about that today, but only that we do continue as a leadership team, but I'm sure as a church, because we're talking to people outside the leadership team, we continue to consider where that issue is going. We can continue to pray about it as a group, and we continue to try and do those things I listed a second ago in terms of the task that the leadership team has. And so it's been a weighty conversation, as I'm sure many of you can imagine, but I'm really proud of the way that we as a group have discussed it and continue to discuss it and consider it. We have also discussed numerous ideas. Every meeting we have, we're talking about ideas for events or programs or other things that will create more and more opportunities for this church to engage with each other and the community. We are absolutely blessed at Dunwoody Baptist to have a community within our church of all generations, of growing diversity, and we are looking for ways to celebrate that here at Dunwoody and to know each other better, love each other better, not just within our church, but taking that love and that energy to bring God's word outside the doors of our church and to our community. So we are continually having those conversations. How do we do that? How do we get more and more people involved in those efforts? Last thing I'll say is that we're always here to partner with you. We work hard to work with our pastors, our staff. They're wonderful, and we work hard to listen when the church has things to say, because we need to reflect the visions, the ideas that people outside our committees bring to this church. So I would just encourage you all to continue to reach out to leadership team members. My information, contact information is in the directory. Don't ever hesitate to reach out with questions, ideas, concerns. We love this church. We're serving in our roles because we love this church, and we want to hear from you. So that's it. Great. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy, for the hard work of the leadership team and what you all mean to this church. I think one of the toughest committees anybody can ever work on in a church is the finance committee. That and the nominating committee are two of the toughest committees I think we have and most challenging. And boy, we've had a good chair in the nominating committee the last year. Now we've had a terrific chair and a terrific committee on our finance committee. And at this time, I'd like to call on Jane Hickey to come and present the report of our budget on behalf of the finance committee.
Is the clicker working now?
Yeah. The top one.
Good evening. It's been my pleasure to serve as the chairman of the Finance Committee this year. We've had a great year, and I'd like to thank the members of the Finance Committee. Let's see if I can get them up there. There they are. We serve 3-year terms as the other committees, and those that have served their 3 years are Barry Coates, Megan Dishroom, and Debbie Sessions. They'll be finished this year. The second-year members, Don Bush, Mark Bayers, and myself, will continue along. And then with us will be Bruce Friddle, Rich Sheff, and Molly Thompson, who are doing their second year. And coming onto the committee, according to your vote this evening, will be Mike Jessup, Taylor Teague, and David Richardson. To provide for the continuity of the work in this committee, it's become a tradition to select the chairman from those serving their second year. The 2024 chairman will be Rich Sheff. Rich, thank you for agreeing to serve as the chairman next year. Next slide. Which button, Lonis? There we go. Your generous giving continues to bless DBC. I hope you saw in the tithes and the offerings report in your bulletin this morning that we have now exceeded our 2022-23 budget goal of $3.6 million. It is projected that we will reach $3.7 million in giving this fiscal year, which will end on September 30th. As you can see from this chart, since 2020, the budget giving has continually increased. With your strong giving and the forecast for this 2022-23 fiscal year, this one, being more than $100,000 over budget, the finance team and the finance committee have prepared a conservative $3.7 million budget for the fiscal year 2023-24. That's a 2.8% increase from last year, and we feel it's easily achievable and in line with our current giving. The proposed budget in full detail you have in your packet, and it has been available in the lobby for the past 3 Sundays. This proposed $3.7 million budget will meet the planned personnel and ministry needs for the upcoming year. Within that proposed budget draft packet, the other DBC ministry budget information, let's see the next one. There we are. That's also been provided for you. Since your budget giving significantly funds our missions budget, I'd like to show you this comparison slide. We take pride in the fact that missions is a core ministry at Dunwoody Baptist Church. 17% of every dollar to our budget is designated to mission and becomes the basis of the missions budget. For fiscal year 23-24, that will be $629,000. But that's not all the entire missions budget. The DBC Foundation also makes an annual commitment to the missions budget. For fiscal year 23-24, the foundation commitment is $220,000. The chart on the screen shows how the missions budget has been funded since 2020 by both your DBC offerings and the DBC Foundation. The fiscal year 23-24 missions budget will be $854,000. This final slide, one more. Okay. This represents a vital piece of the DBC finance picture. As I noted earlier, the budget has exceeded the goal this year. The full budget was met, and spending has been less than budget. I'm also pleased to report that our other ministries, Dunwoody School for the Arts, Fitness, Sports, Summer Camps, and Weekday Preschool, have all performed ahead of budget. What happens to those remaining funds? This slide shows where those funds go and how they're used. We have established reserve funds with specific uses tied to each. This is how we pay for those ongoing capital items like roof repairs and new AC units, all 91 of them. How do we do playground upgrades, enhance our security, refinish the gym floor and the pool deck? That's from these funds. Maybe even some new flooring and paint here and there. There's also a personnel contingency fund in place to sustain staffing if needed. At the end of the year, the projected balances of these reserve accounts, that's in October when we start the new fiscal year, will be $1.7 million. And these balances are similar to those last year. Thank you for listening to my report from the Finance Committee. I'd like to tell you that DBC is financially strong. You know we have no debt. We put missions first, and I feel that we're truly a blessed church. Before I make a recommendation to the church for our new budget, I must acknowledge and thank the finance team for their hard work. David Harris, Melissa Hummel, and Kathy Hicks. They keep your contributions records up to date. They pay our bills. They prepare payroll. They provide detailed reports for the Finance Committee. They have also worked with each ministry to prepare their budgets for the next year. The compilation of all those ministry budgets is what we're considering this evening. Mr. Moderator, with the unanimous recommendation of the Dunwoody Baptist Church Finance Committee, I present the proposed fiscal year 2023-24 church budget of $3.7 million to this conference.
Thank you, Jane. You've heard the report from the Finance Committee, and no second is necessary since they're a standing committee. But before I call the question, we wanted to pause just briefly to see if anybody in the room had any question about the budget. There's been a lot of work and a lot of thought, consideration, and prayer that has gone into this. So I don't want to gloss over that. Does anybody have any question? Okay, thank you. I think that's a compliment to the work of the Budget Finance Committee. If you favor the approval of the budget as presented by Jane, would you please signify by raising your hand? Like sign nay. And of course, there is none. So thank you very much, Jane. Thank you, Finance Committee. Good work. Thank you, David Harris, one of our unsung heroes on this staff, for all of the help and the good work that you do supporting us, too. Thank you, sir. At this time, I'd like to call on the chair of the Dunwoody Baptist Church Foundation, Corinne Bursa, to present the foundation report. Corinne. You've used that before.
Hey, church family. I'm Corinne. It's great to be here with you this evening. And I have the privilege of being the chairperson for the Dunwoody Baptist Foundation for the current year. Next year, it will be Gerald McCarley, and I'll tell you a little bit about the rest of our committee as well. If you're not familiar with the Dunwoody Baptist Church Foundation, it is a 501c3 organization. What that means is we can accept gifts like corporate matching gifts. Your gifts are tax deductible, and also as you think about estate planning, your required minimum distributions are also eligible as gifts to the Dunwoody Baptist Foundation. Now, Jane Hickey just stole the best part of the foundation, and that is that we do a contribution every year to the missions. And for the upcoming calendar year, or the upcoming budget year, that will be $220,000. That's on top of your tithes. So that's on top of the 17% of our tithes that go to missions. So it's really exciting, and it's a wonderful opportunity to really see what God's got planned for us. So I could talk about that for a good hour, but Lannis gave me like 5 minutes, so let me keep it short. Let me thank the members of the foundation. Gerald McCarley, as I mentioned, will be our chair for next year, for 2024. Bill Adams is our current secretary. Bruce Palmer is the treasurer. And then Chapman Hires is serving on the board as well, as Suzanne Bazier, Kathy Hubbard. Alan Jackson, of course, is an ongoing member of the board. Bill Norman, Jeff Reams, Chris Rylands, and Stacy Thompson. And I would like to take just a moment to thank both Stacy and Kathy Hubbard. They will both be rolling off this year, and we really appreciate the contributions that they brought to the conversation around the programs and the outreach in the church and just getting the message out that this foundation is available. So in my opinion, we've had a little bit of a PR problem. A lot of our members don't know that the foundation is available and that it's here to really provide funds for current programs and programs for years and years to come. So it was originally founded in 1975 by the generous gifts of the Cecil B. Day family. And since that time, we've had many, many members of Dunwoody Baptist who have contributed with donations large and small. And we've had a number of new programs that I'll tell you about in just a moment. So to Stacy, thank you so much for your service. To Kathy Hubbard, thank you for your service. Kathy has served as treasurer for all the years that she's been on the foundation as well. And we will miss her as a part of the team. I'm sorry, next year we have 2 new members joining us. We'll have Brian Brown that is joining us, as well as Deborah Sessions. So we look forward to welcoming them for the 2024 year. Okay, so currently when we look at the assets that are managed by the foundation, we have in excess of $6 million that are being managed. And we've had a really nice return on those investments for this current year. We do work with Enclave Advisors that helps us to manage and invest those and to be good stewards of the gifts that are provided. I mentioned that $220,000 is the commitment to the 2024 budget season, so we're excited to see what God's got planned and what the Missions Council will do and how we will invest those funds as a church. When we think about the foundation, historically it was founded as a missions program, as well as we've got a mental health component of it through the generosity of our members. And now we've added a number of new areas where donors have offered us gifts or provided gifts, and I want to be sure that you're aware of what those are. We added a graduate seminary scholarship program, an adoption assistance grant, the Mac Hanna Student Ministry Endowment, Columbarium Care Endowment, and then a brand new one that has been added, and that is for capital reserve for our church, so that we can look at large investments and opportunities for the church as well. So lots of new areas that have been added as a part of our Living Legacy program. If you're interested and would like to learn more about the foundation, I'm happy to talk to you as well as any of our other board members, but we also have a information meeting that will be coming up in October. And I'd like to welcome you or invite you to join us for that on October 15th at 12:30 in A200. It's open to everyone, and we'd love to tell you more about what the foundation is doing and some of the programs and interest, and see how those match up with your plans and where God is leading you. So with that, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Corinne, and thank you, foundation members, for some terrific work. At this time, I'd like to call on Allison Wagner, who is our Personnel Committee Chair, for a report from the Personnel Committee. You've probably used it before, but that's too advanced.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Linus. Good evening, church. I have had the privilege of chairing the Personnel Committee this year, tapped by Chip Thompson. And it has been just a joy to get to know not only the members of the committee, but also David Harris and Alan Tolliver, who support us from the ministerial side of things. And we really couldn't do what we do without their insight and without their guidance. So we very much appreciate everything that they do. We have several members, like the other committees, that are rolling off this year. So I want to thank Chip Thompson for his guidance this past year. He has served as our immediate past chair. Joel Carlton, who I believe is also here, and then Jonathan Sangster is also rolling off. The members that will be staying on will be Lori Bush, Allison Culler, Bruce Palmer, and Michael Bonificio, and Michael will actually be stepping up as our new chairperson for 2024. We have the privilege of having 3 new members join us that you all voted in this year. So we'll have Marianne Avis, Kurt Giebel, and Charlotte Holloway. So we look forward to having them join us. The Personnel Committee, really, our job has been what I believe to be, relatively smooth the 2 years that I have served thus far. I think that we are truly blessed as a church family to have a ministerial staff and a support team that gets along really well. And I don't use the word team loosely because they do really work as a team, and it makes our job as kind of an advisory council, if you will, a lot easier. Some of the work that we've done over the last year have been things like helping with the 2023-24 budget, making sure that we are taking care of staff members, making recommendations to the Finance Committee for salary increases and compensation where it's due. We did a big project at the beginning of the year that you all heard more about at the conference in May, but we did tackle revamping the personnel manual, and it had not been revised in quite some time. So Michael was kind enough to chair that effort and took that on, and I just realized I didn't, yeah, there we go, they advanced for me, thank you. But we have an ongoing responsibility just to review any positions that have vacancies and to review those job descriptions and make sure that they are written according to the skill set that's required for the position. We really just were so pleased to be involved in Gary's calling, and so I just couldn't be happier that he's joining our ministerial team as well. I had a chance to get to know him and Deanne on the mission, on the trip to Israel, so we're very excited to have you guys join the team. Other than that, I look forward to serving as the immediate past chair in the coming year and continuing the work with the Personnel Committee. As Andy said, oh, and by the way, Andy has served as our leadership team liaison, and I appreciate his guidance as well. As Andy mentioned, if you all have any questions for what we do, please feel free to let me know, and happy to chat with you at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison, and thank you, Personnel Committee, for all of your hard work. I'm excited to ask Ed Hayes, who has worked very closely with the Digital Ministry and Senior Adult Pastor Search Committee, to come and give us an exciting report from that group. Ed?
I can remember in the past when I used to bound up these steps just like these young men. If you noticed, I went to the railing to make sure I got up here safely. Several months ago, the leadership team and the nominee committee set up a group to vet and check out and make sure Gary was everything everybody thought he was. And he is, and he passed with flying colors. Casey named the group of our committee, and thank you for doing that, Casey. I was going to do it, but it's okay that you did it also. We did go through a rigorous process to make sure that we dotted our I's and crossed our T's on this new job description, on this new job. I got to talk to 3 people that Gary had listed as references. As you know, you don't list people for references unless you're pretty sure what they're going to say. But I was a little surprised. All 3 of them says that Deanne, Gary's wife, was a lot better than Gary. I've had the opportunity to meet Deanne, and they're absolutely right. If you know what a twofer is, we've got a twofer here. So, Gary, you and Deanne stand up where everybody makes sure they know you. So, Mr. Moderator, it's my privilege to present the recommendation from our committee that we named Gary. And listen to this, it's a long, you've read it, but Gary's business card is going to be this big. Gary is going to be the new pastor of digital ministry and senior adults, and we are really pleased to be able to make this presentation to the group.
Thank you, Ed, and you've heard the recommendation coming forth from the search team. And our church bylaws requires that any pastoral position that is filled requires a paper ballot vote. And so what I've asked Jim Giesler and some folks from the diaconate to do, you were given or picked up, I think, a copy of the ballot when you came in. If you would mark it and send it to the two aisles here, okay, that aisle and that aisle, they're going to pick them up and take them and tabulate them and get them back for us. But I'll pause just a minute while you do that. We're doing it now, and that's the reason we moved the agenda item, so that we didn't have you waiting at the end of the meeting while ballots were being tabulated. So. Did everybody get a ballot that wanted a ballot? Thank you very much, and we'll get you a report back on that before we get away. Another very, very faithful and dedicated leader in our church is our Missions Council Chair, Maria Sheff. And at this time, I'd like to ask her to come forward and present our Mission Council report on all of the exciting things that's going on with that group. Maria. You've used this before. That's your advance right there.
Okay, all right. Well, good evening. Sorry I'm very short, so. Yes, I'm here. I have been chairman of the Missions Council this year, and you have heard that we do take in quite a bit of money, so we would like to tell you a little bit about where that money goes and how things happen. So we adopted the Step Into the Story verbiage this year, because truly it is God's story, and everything about missions goes into his story. So our task, to obey the Great Commission, so God is known and worshiped among all people. So our committee, obviously Jeff Reams is our mission pastor, Ellen Powell is his administrator, and she does a fantastic job. Our committee is Tamala Wright, Alex Sessions, Greg Hackney, Judy Wells, Nathan Felderworth, Jordan Copel, I hope I said that correctly, Shelley Knowles, and Sharon Callahar. And we have had the privilege of getting together through this year and looking at how we can tell you more about missions and how our missions can be more impactful. So, there are many ways to learn about missions. We have dbc.org/missions. We have a weekly story of impact that goes with e-news. We have a mission prayer corner at the top of the Main Street ramp. And if you've not visited that, that's kind of been under construction. And Esther Ortiz has had a bunch to do with it. And it's just a wonderful place to get information about mission partners. And there actually is a sheet now that does list our mission partners, so you can take it if you're curious about any of them. It's got websites, and you can look it up. There's information, stories of impact display in the worship center lobby. That's been updated. There's a monitor there that talks about missions. And then there's monthly stories of mission, or stories of impact, a newsletter. And if you don't get that, you can talk to Jeff Reams or just shoot him an email at jreams@dbc.org. So we are trying to let everybody know what we're up to. So our goal is to get more people engaged in missions and implement new ideas, get more DBCers out in the field, and make new connections in the community. So, looking back on just since the spring, we have sent 84 people out on teams. They have gone to Liberia, Jamaica, Guatemala, and the U.S.-Mexico border. So here are some of the pictures from some of those events and some of those teams. And those teams, in the process of going out, in Jamaica, mentored 60 students from across the island. In Liberia, they trained teachers and installed 2 solar power garden irrigation systems. In Guatemala, they built a house. They distributed water filters and led women and children outreaches and construction projects with our partner there, Revive Guatemala. And on the U.S.-Mexican border, they served in migrant shelters, assisted a church partner in moving to a new location, and learned about history and culture along the border. Additionally, we sent a student out as a short-term missionary over the summer for 6 weeks, Anna Grace Swilley, who grew up in the church, and she had been, I think, to Revive in Guatemala and felt a call to serve, so she went for 6 weeks, and a couple of different teams went down while she was there. But that was a result of Ellen Powell praying for years that someone would get that call. So it's really neat when God answers your prayer when you've been faithful to do it. So we also had India Independence Day, and we had about 450 people, which was small comparatively because the last couple years have been bigger. But if you were aware that night, it just poured. There was lightning, there was thunder. It was supposed to all be out on the fields, all outdoors. And despite the pouring rain and the lightning and the thunder, 450 people showed up, and so did God. And they had a great time, and Dunwoody Baptist is known as a familiar place and a good place to the Indian community. And a lot of the volunteers who helped with that are part of the Indian community as opposed to part of our church. So it's just great to welcome that whole community onto our campus. So the priorities of the Mission Council. So we want to increase our communication. We want you to know what's going on with that large chunk of money that is coming our way. So we're always looking for new ways to get you information. If you will check out that corner at the top of the Main Street ramp, we are hoping to use that as a great way to tell you what teams are going out, what teams will be going out if you're interested. We also are going to deepen our relationship with our current ministry partners. So we encourage, if you are part of any group in this church, talk within your group, find something that's your passion, and adopt one of our partners. And that's as simple as committing to pray for them. If you feel called to do more, most of them have small type things you can do, whether it's hygiene bags or Christmas gifts for kids or just notes of encouragement for people in prison. So there's so much to do, but I would really encourage you to adopt a mission partner and certainly pray for them. So we're always looking for new ways to serve in the community, and we're hoping in coming years to do more with local field trips. Our local partners all could use help, and so we could get teams to go just for a few days, and you don't have to be away from home overnight. And we're also looking to align all of our funding with our priorities. So we are increasing our funding for unreached people groups. And changes, is it gonna, no, it's not gonna change. I don't know if somebody can forward it to the next one. Now we gotta go back. Okay, so changes, we are increasing funding for our global service teams by 10%, so hopefully more people will get to go. We're increasing funding for work among unreached people groups. We've added a new partner in that area. We've created 2 new accounts for domestic and international disaster relief, and hopefully we'll be doing more of that. And we've created an undesignated account of $25,000 for a mini pitch project. That's a chance to bless a mission partner with a little bit more money for a specific project. So a little bit about our new partners for this year. Nathaniel Smith serves unreached people groups in Southeast Asia and came to us, and we are helping just support. He travels back and forth, so we're going to help defray some of his travel costs. And Third World Church Builders. They build church buildings in Honduras, so we are coming alongside them. And then Second Level Ministry is a wonderful ministry to Japanese people in Atlanta and also in Japan. And they're working closely with us in the ESOL and Conversation Club. And there will be a trip to Japan in fall of next year. So they're an amazing ministry, and just give us a chance. If someone comes here from Japan and learns about Jesus and becomes a follower and goes back to Japan, we have a gateway into a pretty closed country through that. So it's just a beautiful ministry. We have our upcoming goals to send 100 people or more, we could do lots more, on mission trips, and fund a significant game-changing project with a mission partner. So the $25,000 we've set for that, and more frequent mission moments in services. Alan, paying attention? And 3 local service teams. We'd like to work with Camp Grace, which was started by one of our members. So there are things we can do to serve them and help with their camp facilities. There's Global Frontier Missions in Clarkston. That can be as simple as taking a meal to them at lunchtime and just encouraging their staff. Cross-Cultural Ministries is in Chamblee. We've done many VBSs there, so that's another way to reach them. And then just helping with repair on facilities. So, you know, we're hoping every class and every group at DBC will have some interaction with one of our ministry partners. So, this is not going to work. Looking ahead. So these are your opportunities. Guatemala, we have a team going this week, and this is a little bit different. They're going mainly to encourage the pastors there because no one has done that, and those pastors have a tough time working with very few resources. So this team is going to go and just encourage the pastors and meet with them and pray with them. And then there'll be another team going in January, end of January, that will be working with Revive on the ongoing projects they have. And then, well, sorry, it does not want to change. Okay. So our Cultural Immersion Day will be October 13th. That's a chance for you to be local here, spend a day, learn about missions, visit a mosque, eat at an international restaurant, and learn how to share the gospel with Muslims and Hindus. So Jeff is working on how to sign up online, but if you're interested, please just let him know. And then you saw in the service a dental clinic. That's an ongoing thing that we can do in the Dunwoody Glen Apartments right here in Dunwoody. And it benefits Spring of Peace Ministries and the people who live there who largely don't have access to dental care. Something new we're trying. Tamala Wright had this wonderful idea for a storyteller's night. Let's hear what's going on. Let's hear from people who have been in the field. So we're going to have an evening to do just that. We're going to hear interviews with people who have been in the mission field and who have done hard things with hope and with prayer. And there'll be desserts and coffee so it should be just an interesting evening. Come and learn. And then Make a Difference Day, our Serve Day that we've had the last couple of years. It'll be November 4th, a Saturday, and we will be serving all around Atlanta. So you can gather any group, you can pick a ministry partner or pick a ministry that maybe that's not on our list and just go help them for the day and serve. Lots of ways to do that. So Liberia team will go in November. You heard in the spring, largely led by Alan Tolliver and Greg Patterson. Alan had the idea of introducing them to drip irrigation so that they could have a second growing season, which is huge for a place with quite a bit of food insecurity. So Greg Patterson's an engineer, came alongside, helped develop the system. And this is not Americans taking everything to them and installing it and taking care of them. This is Americans taking the things to them, showing them how to do it, training them, and then leaving them to maintain it and do it and understand it and keep it going, which is what has successfully happened. So we're going to have one more trip toward the end of this year to scout new areas for more growth, more fields to irrigate, and then they'll be going back in January, maybe February, to install those systems. So that just makes a huge difference for those communities. We have ongoing things with ESOL, and in our Sunday school class this morning, it was mentioned that some people who used to come to ESOL but went back to Japan now come online to still continue doing ESOL. So this makes a huge impact. In our conversation clubs on Monday night, if you are just willing to come talk to somebody for an hour, please come, please join them. Always need more people. These people just want to be able to practice their English and talk to somebody. So, and out of that, we've had a baptism. Somebody came to know the Lord through coming to Conversation Club, and I think 5 Bible studies have started on other nights of people who have come to Conversation Club. So huge impact reaching the nations. So to learn more or sign up, I don't know that we'll get this last one, but okay, dbc.org/missions. Okay, and I would just challenge all of you, we all have a part to play. You can certainly pray, everybody can do that. You can certainly give, some more than others, and some can go. So, I would challenge each one of you, to really seek what God would have you do, and then to be part of a group or individually, step up and do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Missions Council, for all of your hard work. At this time, I'd like to call on Jim Giesler, Vice Chair of the Deacons, to come and make a report to us on behalf of our fine diaconate. Jim.
Thank you, Lannis. I have one slide, so we're going to get through this very quickly.